All right, we'll start off with citizens' comments. Does anyone have citizens' comments? Yes, sir. You could just identify yourself, please.
Sure. Tom Palmer, 79 Aberdeen Road, also co-chair of the Josiah Smith Tavern and Old Library Working Group. You may be aware we've made some pretty good progress, and in particular recently we reviewed about 7 in particular statements of interest that for redeveloping those properties. So we're at a stage where we can really use some input from the planning group as to some of the issues that we're debating with respect to these proposals, or I won't go so far as to call them proposals, but really statements of interest. And we have a specific request. I'm here with Doug Manley. We are working with his firm specifically with some architectural designs for the Josiah Smith Tavern. And we've got a couple of specific requests that we'd like to get your input on. So if I could cede the floor to Doug and put that request in.
My firm has been hired at the feasibility study level. We've been charged with looking at feasibility of the tavern site, specifically for the potential restaurant use. And then another scheme is a kind of a continuation of the use that it has now, but with upgrades to address issues of accessibility and egress from the building and life safety issues. So in doing that scheme, we're proposing an addition, and so we've also done some preliminary passes at some parking schemes. At some point, I would like to have some review input from the board, formally or informally. As I said, I'm at the feasibility study level, so it's not in-depth design at this point, but just conceptually, if we're heading in the right direction.
Yeah, and I guess not to, obviously go into details tonight, but maybe we can get one or, 2 members, certainly not a quorum from your group, to meet offline with Doug, and maybe 1 or 2 members, not a quorum from our working group. That would be helpful to us.
What is your timetable?
I'm supposed to be wrapped up towards the end of September on the project. So I've done most of our work of the study. This is kind of one of the last things that I promised the study group that we would do.
Okay.
May I ask who you're working for?
Working for the town of Weston.
The town of Weston, right, that's right, under CPA funds that were made available to our working group for this type of study.
And you have your first CPC meeting and presentation on the 14th of September, am I right?
No, we're not at the stage where we're presenting anything to the CPC at this point.
Okay, are you on at the 28th meeting?
For the CPC? I'm not
Yeah, well,
aware we're at any meeting.
Okay, so, but I mean, you're eventually going to present to the committee.
Once we have a proposal that, yeah, I mean, as we have a member from the CPC on our working group.
Working group, right. So, all right, so you're not planning on presenting anything as far as you know. I mean, as it is right now, we have 1, 2, 3 meetings, 4 meetings actually, all set up between September and October. So what are you looking for?
Well, like I said, I think what we're looking for is just some input, which I think could be done by 1 member of the group.
Okay.
To provide some input onto the issues that, that may
Okay.
come up. I don't think it needs to be a formal, agenda item for your committee.
What's going to happen? I mean, we give you our input, but then what happens after that?
Well, we're in a process where we've got these 7 statements of interest that we're going to be, kind of prosecuting down to what we think is ultimately going to be something that we can recommend to the selectmen and ultimately the town. And at that time where we have visibility on what that's going to be, I expect we're going to go through the process of the planning board, the CPC, all the other committees that would be involved once we have something. But we don't want to, we want to try to plan for the anticipated issues. We just don't want to, show up and then find we've got.
Want some early feedback.
Correct.
But are you going to issue an RFP, or how's that going to work?
That is the thinking at this point, but we're not at a stage, as you know, issuing RFPs for the JST and the old L has not been particularly productive. So the statements of interest was a first step in figuring out, you know, what the interest level is and the, you know, the different concepts that are brewing out there and the parties that are interested.
How many different concepts do you plan out?
We've got, we held a public meeting, so all this is public record. We received a total of 9 statements of interest. 2 of them were from the Historical Society and the Women's Community League that were not necessarily sponsor type of proposals for reuse. The other 7, 1 was purely for the tavern. 2 were joint proposals or statements of interest for both the tavern and the old library, and 4 were pure for the proposals for the old library. We as a group have agreed to dual track these, knowing that there may be some issues that play into both, like parking, septic, etc. But to the extent that we can reach resolution at a different pace with each of them, we're open to that, and that's why we're dual tracking them.
So are you thinking that the planning board would give you feedback on how we might respond to the different proposals?
We're only, at this point, we're only seeking some feedback on this. And, you know, one of the ideas was that the planning board would have a representative at the working group to be able to kind of provide some feedback as it goes along. But, you know, you guys have had your hands full with a bunch of other issues.
Yeah, well, it hasn't really gotten to zoning issues yet. at
That's
least
right. I
as
think
far as
some of
I've
these
been
are
able
starting
tell.
the concepts are starting to get there, and that's why I say
Bumping up against
it's, we're getting to that point where your input can be really helpful to us.
Well, I'd volunteer. Somebody else?
That'd be great.
Go for it.
Hmm?
I'll join you.
Go for it.
But when
As long as it's
I'm
not
gone,
going, right? You
yes.
can't have 3, right?
Yeah.
I'm gone between the 6th and the 16th. So.
Well, I think we'll go offline with Doug and find a time.
Okay. Yeah.
So
And I'll
we're-
volunteer Roy.
Yes.
When you go.
Yeah, we'll swap some emails.
It's gonna be 2 of us.
Yeah. Okay. It'll be me. If I can't make the date, then
Great.
I'll volunteer Roy.
All right.
Yeah, okay. Sounds
Thank
good.
you.
It's
That's
gonna
it
be
for us.
interesting responding without a program.
I think your level of input will be considered very high level to see, you know, you, having done this before, you know where the landmines are and the issues as it relates to zoning, and so we just want to be sensitive to that.
Okay. Sure, we can do that.
Great, thank you.
Exciting.
Yes,
Hi,
sir.
I'm Jeffrey Bunk. I just wondered why Betsy wasn't here tonight?
Betsy is away today, so John Field, the building inspector, is filling in for Betsy.
Thanks.
All right, anybody else with public comment?